What's up, everybody? BD here, and they just keep talking about it, don't they? This whole Superman controversy is getting so wild and ridiculous, and it's reached ludicrous proportions at this point. I don't know if you've seen the movie or not. If you haven't seen the movie, now's your chance to go watch it. Come back then watch this video, then hop down in the comments and tell me whether you agree with me or not. But we got to talk about how this movie has been received on the extremes by fans across the board, right? To some of these fans, it's the greatest movie ever made. Literally heard that quote a few times and read that quote a few times. And to some, it's the worst movie ever made. Heard that, read that. The truth is in the middle, right? It is. But the biggest problem is that there's a certain segment of the movie going universe, the reviewers, right? The critics, your professional reviewers, your professional critics who are out there calling this movie the great. It's a triumph. It's the greatest superhero movie ever made. This movie is relaunching the DC universe. This movie, greatest Superman movie made. There's a lot. There's a lot of things here that they're talking about that's just untrue. Now, that's not to say you personally can't go out here and go, you know what? To me, this is the best Superman movie, hands down. This is the one that I love the most of. If that's your opinion of the movie, that's fine. That's the great thing about opinions. You're entitled to yours. Nothing wrong with that. But when you're purposefully out here trying to mislead people and make them believe that this is actually the greatest Superman movie ever made, the greatest movie ever made, and you review things for a living, and you have crapped on movies that have had far less plot holes in them and far more entertainment value, but you've crapped on those movies. But for some reason, this one, you're saying, oh, it's the best. Golly gee willikers, I've always wanted this Superman. Stop it. Stop it. You know that's not true. You know that's not true. Again, you can have any opinion you want. That's fine. I have seen people come out of this movie, these reviewers crying about this movie. It impacted me on such a emotional level. James Gunn is not that kind of storyteller, so you need to stop. There was not a moment in this movie that reeked of that kind of storytelling. We had near moments where you're like, oh, this is gonna be one of those moments, and it was undercut by a stupid joke, completely undercut by it. Storytelling 101, and this was not that. I mean, they are trying so hard to convince you that this is perfect movie making, perfect storytelling. It is a reach to get to where they're trying to go, and I get why. I do understand why. If you're a YouTuber and you're working on YouTube for a living, and it's a legitimate job, there's a lot that goes into making these videos, and I respect every one of these reviewers, even the ones I disagree with on certain things, and the ones I agree with both. I respect everything they do because it's hard. It's hard to go out here and do that, and then you have to put yourself out there for public ridicule because that's the world, right? That's YouTube, that's the internet, that's what this is. But you know that. But you know that. So I've heard people being called shills and this whole shill thing come about, and I am certain there are quite a few shills out there. Now there are some who are trying to make the statement that we're not getting paid to do interviews. That's not that's not the only thing that being a shill is. If you're getting to get into the prime showings, the early preview showings that only select people get into, these interviews that only select people get an interview because they trust you to say at least kind words about them and hype their movie, that's still a form of shilling. Do I think it's a bad thing? No, I don't. But call it for what it is. Just say it for what it is. Yeah, we do get access to it, and that's great. And I'm not going to sit here and dog them out. Now, I think the most honest thing would have been to say, hey, this is my favorite Superman movie. I absolutely loved it. Are there some holes in it? Yes. Are there some plot problems? Yes. Pacing? Yeah. But so what? This is a feel good, hopeful Superman that I wanted. You could have said that right there, I back you 100%. Absolutely. Go for it. I can see where you're coming from. But when you're telling me this movie has very little flaws, it started out as one big flaw, and it ended with one big flaw, and there was flaws all out spread throughout it. I heard this one. Well, you shouldn't really get upset about the Jor-El thing, and I mean because it really helps make the movie what it is. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. And then they talk about the lore. Well, these guys who say that don't really know the Lord. Yes, we do. In every incarnation, Jor-El, Lara, they have been the parents, right? They knew their world had their chance, and they screwed it up. They're sending their son to be a better and a beacon of hope to a whole new world, Earth, because they believe in him that much. And that's who they are. Otherwise, they would just be Zod. Then what you're telling me is Krypton is just a planet full of Zods. So why are you mad at Zod? You picking up on that yet? You seeing what the problem here is? People can talk themselves into anything if they're getting something out of it. They can. They can do it and talk themselves into it and not even realize they're shilling. But in their mind, they know. I can't sit here and dog this thing out. They want, and I get a lot of people wanted this to be a great movie. I wanted this to be a great movie. I did. And in my reaction, I still gave it a 7 out of 10 because I did enjoy myself despite the mini plot holes, despite the pacing issue in the front of the movie, despite the just cringe humor that was stuck in places where we did not need it because you had moments you were creating that were going to be so good and then you just crapped on them. Despite making Mom Pa Kent backwoods hillbilly hicks that could barely string together a sentence. By God, at this point, my grandparents know how to use a cell phone. They do. My grandparents know how to use a cell phone, and they're dead. And you're telling me that you have to yell into it like you don't know how to use a cell phone at this time? No, no, stop, stop. There were lots of stuff like that, but it did not kill my enjoyment of the movie. And that's my point. You don't have to go overboard and make all these excuses. If you love something, you love the thing. If you hate something, you just hate it. If you don't like it, you just don't like it. Whatever the case may be, at least be honest about it. That suit is the worst Superman suit, almost of all time. Almost of all time. It's bad. The colors were great. I love the emblem. The cape was awesome, but that suit was bad. By every measure, it was bad. To rank that suit in the top 3 Superman suits of all time is ludicrous. Absolutely ludicrous. That is nuts. And that should tell you everything you need to know right there. So if you're getting mad because people are calling you shills, maybe don't shill. All right, maybe realize that, hey, I can still give an honest review on how what I think this movie is without going overboard and still be kind to the people that allow me to come see these things for free and get me into all the press junkets and all that good stuff. You ain't got to be wicked about it. Say, hey, look, had some plot issues here. I thought didn't really care for this, didn't really care for that. But was it a fun movie going experience? Yeah. Did we come out smiling, having a great time? Absolutely. How hard is that? Yeah, everybody talks about they want this to be a comic accurate Superman. First of all, not since the 60s. You may can find a comic in the 60s this is comic accurate too. This Superman with golly gee willikers and the way they talk. But no, you want a Superman that gives you hope. You want that Boy Scout that's there to always do the right thing. And I thought James Gunn, for the most part, did that in this one. Was it a little too golly gee willikers for me? Yes, he was. You don't have to be that, but you don't have to be a sourpuss either. I liked Man of Steel, and the more I watch it, the more I love it. However, that movie needed some of this hopefulness in it. I thought if you could have sprinkled some of this hopefulness in Man of Steel, what you could have done with that series. But they didn't. And so here we are. But at least you can be honest about it. I just think that if you're going to review these movies And you're going to go out here and get these reactions, and you're going to go out there and say the things that you choose to say and how you choose to act about them. You can't be surprised or upset and go off on people because they're calling you a shill or disagreeing with you. You put yourself out there for that reason. You did that. You chose that. You're making a damn good livelihood off of that. Again, you don't want to be called a shill, then don't put out stuff that makes you look like you are. If you're not, that's fine. But at least don't make the perception be that that's what it is. This was not a perfect movie. It was not a great movie. Was it a fun movie? Hell yeah. Was it a good time? Absolutely. Was it the best Superman ever? Nope. My opinion. Again, my opinion. And one last thing when we're talking about it, because this is the other thing that angers me. You see article after article because they are trying. The press is trying. Warner Brothers is on full go mode right on this thing, trying to get some good news out there. This morning you wake up, Superman, highest grossing Superman of all time, beats the Man of Steel. No, it didn't. No, it didn't. Because the one thing people tend to overlook is the fact that Man of Steel, back then in 2013, they did not put in the Thursday preview numbers into the weekend total. If you do that without inflation, if you do that, Superman still does not get to Man of Steel's opening weekend number domestically. It doesn't. It doesn't. All you have to do is just a little bit of research. This much. This much is all it takes to go find that out. But they're trying to spin it any way they want to. I wish it would do $1 billion. I wish it would, so we can get off this and DC can maybe keep going and actually try to give us a great universe. That would be awesome. That would be so much fun if they could do it. Instead, we keep getting these jumble movies. It's overstuffed. Too many characters. Superman, especially this one, needed to be Superman centric. Superman did not have to come through on his first movie and have all this help out there. He didn't. You want to pull that in the second movie? Great. Let's go. But this shouldn't have been that movie. This should not have been that movie. There was lots of action. The problem with it was stilted action. There was action we never got to see because of how the writing was done. Again, and you're not going to please everybody. I get that. And even with all the stuff that I'm saying and pointing out, I still had a great time in this movie. I will go see it a second time because I want to see what I missed because some of that pacing was so fast. I know there were things that I probably missed in there, and I want to see it again. And I will see it again. It doesn't take away my enjoyment of the movie, but also at the same time, I'm not going to lie to you. Not going to lie to you. I'm not going to pretend I'm doing something out here I'm not doing. That should be every review and every critic. This is why I don't trust Hollywood critics at all. At all. I don't care what their score is on a movie. I don't. And that is what a lot of people feel like. These critics think they are just up here and that you should always listen to what they say because they're going to break down the narrative and they're going to tell you exactly how they do it, even though they probably never even been inside a production before. All right, those are crazy things. I've been part of one. It's nuts. There's a lot going on. So don't tell me that. So you got to judge for yourself, guys. You got to judge for yourself. If you've seen it, let me know in the comments that you've seen it. If you haven't, go watch it. Come back, take a look. Let's discuss. But until the next one, this is BD, and I'm out of here.